नमस्कार। आप सभी का स्वागत है एनसीईआरटी के लाइव फोन इन कार्यक्रम में। मैं हूं तन्वी खुराना और ये जो सेशन है वो है साइंस के बच्चों के लिए, कक्षा 10वीं के बच्चों के लिए, जिसका टॉपिक है ह्यूमन न्यूट्रिशन। तो न्यूट्रिशन की डिटेल्स के बारे में हम इस सेशन में बातचीत करेंगे। न्यूट्रिशन क्या होता है, कितने तरीके का होता है और क्या क्या होता है हमारी बॉडी में जो एक्सप्लेन किया जा सकता है। और Patra, welcome ma'am.
Thank you, Tanvi, and good morning, viewers.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am is from DAV Schools, Bhubaneswar. So, she'll be talking about nutrition and a lot about nutrition. If you have any questions regarding this topic, then you can simply send it to us on our email ID, which is ciet.kishoremunch@gmail.com. You're watching us live on Swam Prabhas channel number 31, Kishore Munch, and you're watching us live on our YouTube channel, which is NCERT Official. You can write your questions, your queries, comments in the comments section as well of our YouTube channel, and we'll receive them instantly, and ma'am will be answering them as well. So let's begin our discussion. Ma'am, like I said, nutrition is of various types. So can you just describe nutrition first and then tell us how many types of nutritions are there?
Yes. Uh, so already we have done a session on nutrition. So I won't go in details about what is called nutrition. So today let's come back to types of nutrition. So in previous session we have already discussed that for survival all the living organisms require two types of substances, that is organic substances as well as uh, inorganic as well as organic substances. Okay, some organisms, that is like plants, they take only inorganic substances from their surrounding and they convert them into organic substances. So such type of organisms are called as autotrophic organisms. There are rest of the, that is apart from green plants, rest of the organisms, they have to take both inorganic as well as organic substances from their surroundings. They cannot convert inorganic substances inside their body. So such type of organisms which are taking inorganic as well as organic substances from the surrounding, they are called as heterotrophic organisms. Okay. Okay, this heterotrophic organism, again, depending on their mode of nutrition, that is how they're achieving their, how they're getting their nutrition, there are several types of heterotrophic nutrition. Of course, here due to a time constraint, we won't discuss about all. We'll discuss about some only. So let's take, we'll discuss only few like saprozoic mode of nutrition, saprophytic mode of nutrition, as well as holozoic mode of nutrition. In case of saprozoic mode of nutrition, in this case what happens, that's organism which is surviving in a surrounding, in this surrounding organic substances are present, but these organic substances are present already in the absorbable form. What do you understand by absorbable form? That is, they are present in the form of very small molecules which can be directly absorbed by the cells. So such organisms, saprozoic organisms, they absorb organic substances, very small organic substances which are present in the surrounding, they absorb through their general body surface. So they are called as saprozoic organisms. Say you can take example of Entamoeba histolytica, which are parasitic to us. So they obtain their nutrition from our body cells. They get their nutrition from their digestive materials which we absorb. They thrive on that. Saprophytic mode of nutrition, this is found in most of the fungi as well as in some of the bacteria. In this case, what happens? Here also in surrounding, organic substances are present. But what is the difference between the two? In such case, organic substances are present in complex form. So such organisms usually grow in the surrounding of dead and decaying organisms filled surroundings. Okay, so here organic substances are present, but they are present in complex form. And as you know, complex molecules are larger molecules, so they cannot be absorbed by the cell directly. So what these organisms do, they secrete some enzymes in their surrounding. These enzymes break down these complex substances into simple and smaller substances, and then they absorb these smaller substances inside their body. I hope this difference is clear now.
Yes, ma'am.
In case of holozoic nutrition, here what happens, that in the surrounding absorbable substance is not present. So in holozoic organisms, what do? They take organic, see, already I've told you in these three groups, they have to take inorganic as well as organic substances from their surroundings, both inorganic and organic. Here we are discussing in which form of organic substances they absorb it. Holozoic organisms will take organic substances in the form of food. This food will be taken directly as a whole or as a part. And inside their body, this food will be digested to simpler substances. So I think now we have understood all the difference among all these three, that in holozoic organisms, food materials are taken in, complex organic substances are taken in as well as inorganic substances, and inside the body digestion takes place. In case of saprophytic, digestive enzymes were released in the surrounding. Okay?
Okay.
So,
Ma'am, are there any particular steps for holozoic nutrition?
yes, certainly. So, in holozoic nutrition, that consists of different steps. So, as you can see on the screen, this holozoic nutrition consists of basically 5 different steps: the ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. Out of this, ingestion means taking in of the food, how they are taking in of the food. Now, say if we take example, today we are going to do human nutrition. So, let's take in human beings how nutrition takes place. So, what do? We ingest food. We take our food in the form of as whole, or we bite it and break it down into small pieces. So, this taking in of the food, mode of intake of food is called as ingestion. Then this food material, as they are complex substances, so they will be broken down into simpler substances. Then this process is called as digestion. So this digestion is a very complicated process. This digestion requires mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. Mechanically, food will be broken down into smaller pieces first inside our mouth and also in our stomach. That details we'll do later. And by chemical digestion, that is chemically some enzymes as well as some chemical substances like acids, etc., will break down food into smaller pieces. So by digestion, complex food materials are broken down into simpler substances. Then comes absorption. Then these simple substances are absorbed by the body. Inside the body, then these simple substances will be again converted to different other substances which are required for the growth, to repair wear and tear in the body. They'll be utilized. Then last comes egestion. Egestion is the process by which undigested food materials which could not be absorbed, they will be removed from the body. Okay, so this way we see holozoic nutrition has got different steps.
Okay. Ma'am, if we talk about buccal cavity, can you explain it a little bit?
Yes, I'll come to buccal cavity. Before that, let us see this on the screen you can find here that holozoic nutrition takes place in human beings and other higher organisms, and also it takes place in unicellular organisms like amoeba, paramecium, etc. Okay, what is the difference? In case of amoeba, paramecium, holozoic nutrition takes place inside the single cell only, inside the single cell, but it follows those 5 steps which already we discussed. In case of human beings, how does it differ? All these steps of holozoic nutrition takes place inside a tubular structure. All this, starting from ingestion up to egestion, all the steps are confined in a tubular structure. This tubular structure is called as digestive tract or alimentary canal. Now, the food is digested inside this digestive tract with the help of different types of enzymes which are produced by the glands. So, this whole process, whole system is called as digestive system. As you can see here, the digestive system, it consists of basically tubular structure, which will already we discussed about it, that is called as alimentary canal, and this alimentary canal also has got some associating or helping organs like teeth, tongue, etc. and digestive glands. So digestive system consists of basically two things. One is alimentary canal and another is digestive glands. Again, let's see. Alimentary canal consists of 2 openings. One is mouth, another is anus. As you can see here, this is the human digestive system, which consists of an alimentary canal. And this alimentary canal is a tubular structure, that's certain. But it has got different diameter. Somewhere it's very narrow, somewhere it is broad, somewhere it's very thin, and somewhere it is comparatively having wider diameter. Okay, so, and this alimentary canal has got 2 openings. One at one end, which is called as mouth, which helps in ingestion or intaking of food materials. And in another end, there is an anus, which will remove undigested food materials. The process we call as egestion. Okay.
Ma'am, can you move the chart a little bit towards us right now? Yes, now we can see.
Is it clear? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, now.
Okay. So, what do we find? There are 2 openings and there are several compartments. These compartments, like see here you find this area that is just after taking in food inside. This area is called as mouth cavity or buccal cavity. Then we find there is a long tube which will join the mouth cavity, the end part of mouth cavity, we call it as pharynx. So, it joins pharynx up to the stomach. Stomach is a widened sac-like structure, and then stomach leads into intestine. From here up to here you can find this part is called as small intestine, and this part is called as large intestine. Starting from here up to here, we say this is intestine. Intestine is divided into 2 parts, small intestine and large intestine. Small intestine is very long, but why the small and large, these 2 terms we are using? Because of its diameter. You can find here small intestine is very narrow in diameter, whereas large intestine is large in diameter. Okay, so we have got 2 openings and basically 5 different chambers like buccal cavity, esophagus, stomach, small intestine and large intestine. Okay. Now, apart from that, we find certain glands are also associated with digestive system. These glands secrete some chemical substances. They also secrete mucus, HCl, etc., so that proper digestion can take place. That means already we had discussed in digestion that chemical digestion is required for breaking down the food materials into smaller pieces. So these glands help in this chemical digestion. Okay, here you find inside buccal cavity some glands are present, some are present inside stomach, some are present inside small intestine. Okay, so these are located inside alimentary canal, but there are certain glands like here you can find liver and pancreas. They also secrete enzymes and they pour inside alimentary canal. Okay, these glands are located outside the alimentary canal. So we get two types of glands are present. One are located inside alimentary canal, another group is located outside alimentary canal. Okay. Now, on the slide you can find there is the first part of so-called chamber of alimentary canal, which is buccal cavity. Okay, this buccal cavity you can find here. The buccal cavity, when you open your mouth, which space you find inside you, that is the buccal cavity. Now, inside buccal cavity, just you can imagine now, every day you are seeing it. So, just imagine it. What are the things present here? What are the parts present? You get teeth are present, you get tongue is present, and buccal cavity is supported at the sides by cheeks, and it has got at the upper part it has got a palate. This palate has got in the front side, it seems hard. If you feel your tongue with the roof of buccal cavity, you can feel front part is hard, back portion is, posterior part is soft. So front part is called as hard palate, back side is called as soft palate. Okay, this soft palate continues in the form of an hanging, an arch like this hanging. You can see in the slide, this hanging is called as uvula. Okay. Now, what is the function of teeth? I told you earlier that mechanical digestion is also required. So, when food is taken in, food will be cut into small pieces, then masticated. Mastication means breaking down. So it will be broken down by different types of teeth are present. So tongue helps in rotating of food and adjusting the food under the teeth. So this way mechanical digestion will take place. Food will be broken down into small pieces. What is the function of this rotation of food? When food is rotated, then saliva will also be secreted, and saliva will moist the food. Okay, again let's come back to this. Here you can find this inside mouth. Actually there are several glands present. Large number of glands are present inside mouth. But we'll talk here about the three large glands which are comparatively larger in size. So these glands are present. One pair is present just below the tongue. Here you can find, they are called as sublingual. One is present here you can find, which is present at the side of the upper jaw. They are submaxillary, and another pair is present just in front and inferior to the ear, which is called as parotid glands. So these three glands, along with that many smaller glands which are present, they secrete a secretion which is called as saliva. Saliva consists of large amount of water, 99% of water, just only 1% of rest of the things. What are these rest of the things? These rest of the things are, say there are electrolytes, there are different other ions present, and apart from that, there two enzymes are also present there. One is salivary amylase, another is lysozyme. What is the function of these two enzymes? One is salivary amylase and another is lysozyme. salivary amylase breaks down starch. When we take food, starchy food inside mouth, then salivary amylase will break down starch into simpler substances like maltose, etc. And what is the function of lysozyme? Lysozyme kills bacteria. It digests bacterial wall. Okay. So then here one question maybe your viewers may ask, that if lysozyme is killing bacteria, then still why we are having large number of bacteria inside our intestine? It's told that we have got large number of bacteria inside our intestine and stomach. Actually, this lysozyme which is produced, its number is very less. So it cannot deal with all the bacteria. If too many bacteria are coming, it cannot deal with it. Okay.
Okay.
So now what's happening? The saliva is getting mixed with food. As a result, what's happening? Food is becoming moist. Food is broken down into smaller pieces. Food, the starchy material which is present in the food, that is half digested. When it is half digested, it is broken down into a disaccharide. Okay, that ultimately that soft substance which has been formed, that is called as a bolus. Now this food will be gulped down. Yes, before this, you might have heard that we must take care of our teeth. If we don't take care of our teeth, certainly this mastication will not be possible. If mastication is not there, enough amount of saliva will not be formed. But is it that much necessary to take care of the teeth? Here a small experiment I'll show you. See here I have taken an egg and I dissolved it in an acidic substance, very mild you can say, that's vinegar solution, which in vinegar, you know, white vinegar, water is also added, so it's a mild acidic substance. I had soaked it. Why egg? Because egg shell is, all of you know, that consists of calcium carbonate. And our teeth, that white part of our teeth, that is called as enamel. That is the hardest substance of our body. That also consists of calcium carbonate and calcium phosphate. Okay. So just let's see what will be the action of acid on our teeth. Now again here another question is coming, from where so much acid will come inside our mouth? You know, when we eat sugary substances, sugar containing substances, and if we are not washing our mouth, then these substances will stick inside our mouth, and bacteria which are present in buccal cavity, they'll convert them into acids. So there is possibility of having acid deposition on the teeth. Now see what has happened. I've already got a large amount of deposition here, but still I'll show you that I'm brushing this as if you're brushing your teeth. You can see here, you can look here how this some deposition is taking place here. See, this egg shell has become so soft that it has started breaking also from here. So it shows you, if we don't wash our mouth properly, how dangerous it will be for the teeth. Okay.
That's the reason we have always heard that brush twice your teeth in a day by the dentist. It has always been said, right?
Yes, certainly. That is there. But not only twice, whenever we are eating any sugar containing food, we must wash our mouth. Okay. Wherever brushing is not possible, at least with water, we must wash our mouth. Okay. Very nice
So
question.
that's how we can prevent our tooth decay.
So see, along with this one process I've shown you, and you know what happens? That you have taken some sugary substances, and you after for some time you have forgotten, and then you went to brush it. But as here it happened in this activity we have seen, the same thing will happen there. So what you do, first wash your mouth after eating some sugary substance, then brush it. Understand? So in that case, you know, first acid will be removed, and then you can brush it. Okay. Another small experiment I'll show you. I have told you about salivary amylase. It digests starch. But you may ask me, do you have any proof it digests starch? So for proving that, let me show you one experiment. Here, see here I've taken, okay, I'll use my hand. That will be better. I think this is starch solution I've taken. And here just a little bit of starchy substance, starchy powder I have dissolved in water. So what we are getting here, starch is not soluble in cold water. But for that, what I'll do, when I'll use it, I'll just shake it. Okay. Here I've taken, here this is my iodine. What is the color of iodine? You can find here, although it is looking here black, but if you see here, it is brownish in color, yellowish brown in color. All of you know how iodine looks like. So it is brownish in color. So what I do now, I'll just pour little bit of iodine in starch. While pouring, you might have noticed that it was brownish in color. Okay, it was brownish in color, but we have to keep it for some time. And gradually you'll find here how the color is changing. You can find a bluish tinges appearing here. Okay, so this shows that when starch is mixed with iodine, that gives a blue coloration due to formation of starch iodide. Okay, so that is if anywhere starch is present, if iodine is added, that should give a blue coloration. Now here what I've taken starch and saliva solution. I've collected saliva, I have diluted it with water, and then I have mixed it, and then I kept it some time before. Now let's see it. What color you see here? Brown or blue?
Dark brownish.
It's brown. Why it is brown? Starch is there, but still iodine has been added. It didn't change the color. So what is the reason? The reason is starch might have been broken down. How it has been broken down into some other substances? Because saliva is also there. Okay, so I had kept it earlier, say about half an hour before. So what had happened, all the starchy material has been broken down by saliva, and so now when I added iodine, it did not give any color.
Okay. Ma'am, I have a few questions regarding the
Yes.
stomach digestion.
Okay. In stomach digestion, we didn't reach up to stomach. We have to pass through, our food has to pass through esophagus, then it will reach up to stomach. Okay, so little bit I'll tell you about esophagus. Please have your patience, certainly. We'll go. So here you can find that this partly digested food now moves down through the esophagus. In esophagus, the food is pushed down up to stomach by a process called as peristalsis. Esophagus is the part of alimentary canal which does not digest or does not absorb any food material. Okay, it is just a pathway to push the food up to stomach. Okay, this esophagus has got at where it is connected with the stomach, here a sphincter muscle is present. What is sphincter muscles? We won't go in much details here. Sphincter muscles are, they are tightly closing muscles, a group of muscles are present, which are like, check gate, we can say. They mostly remain in closed condition, almost in closed condition. Okay. Now, when food is pushed from esophagus to it moves from esophagus up to the stomach, then food will pass through this through the sphincter muscles and it will enter inside the stomach. Okay. Now you had a doubt in stomach how digestion takes place. Now we have come up to the stomach. Now let's see. It's very interesting, you know. When food comes to the stomach, gradually, not immediately, but gradually, you know, after some time, digestive glands which are present in the stomach, they will become activated and they'll start producing, as I told you, enzymes and some other things. Let's see what are these things. Now, glands which are
I
present.
have got a lot of questions and we've got just 6 minutes left.
Is it? Okay, then I have to move fast.
Yeah.
So after that, if time is there, I'll otherwise these questions may be sent to me through some means and I'll certainly. Okay, so glands which are present in stomach, they're called as gastric glands. These gastric glands secrete different types of, keep in mind, not one type, different, each type of gland secretes one particular substance. This is one secretes mucus, then some secrete dilute HCl and some secrete pepsin. Okay. Why I wrote there in bracket pepsinogen? Actually, this pepsin, it is a protein breaking enzyme. So, it is secreted in inactive form. Why, you know, otherwise stomach wall is also having protein layering. All the cell membrane is made up of proteins and lipids. So, that would have digested stomach wall and also the cell from which it has been released. Okay. So, it is secreted in the form of inactive pepsinogen. Okay. Then this inactive pepsinogen, in presence of dilute HCl, it will be converted to pepsin. And pepsin breaks down proteins. Okay. After that, so now when food enters inside the stomach shows initially a slow movement, but later a very vigorous movement. So that food material will be getting mixed with the digestive juices. All these substances together, they constitute digestive juices. Okay. So now food is half digested. We can say that protein part is mostly digested inside stomach. But when from mouth starchy food had come up to the stomach, their digestion had been stopped due to presence of HCl medium, due to presence of acidic medium. Okay. After that, what happens? This substance which is present in the stomach, that is called as chyme now. Chyme will be slowly passing through another sphincter muscles, very small at a time, 30 ml at a time, inside small intestine. So this is from here up to here, you find this is small intestine. Small intestine has got three parts. First part is called as duodenum, second part is called as jejunum, and rest part is called as ileum. In duodenum, you can find here liver and pancreas. Combinedly, they are secreting some they're secreting some enzymes. Okay. Liver secretes bile juice. Bile juice actually does not break down any food material, but it helps in emulsification. That is, it collects fat molecules into, they break it down into smaller molecules and then aggregate it. That is, they increase the surface area of fat molecules. And pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice consists of a large number of substances. What are the substances? Large number of enzymes. Are there any kind of food material you say, and that can be broken down by pancreatic juice? It secretes pancreatic trypsin, which breaks down protein. It secretes carbohydrate breaking an enzyme, that is pancreatic amylase. It also secretes lipase. Lipase breaks down fat. So this way what happens, when food comes to duodenum, you can find large, mostly digestion is getting completed. Okay. Then after that, food moves through the jejunum. These small food materials which are broken down by these enzymes are now absorbed by jejunum as well as by ileum. For absorption inside small intestine, you can find a large number of finger-like folds are there. These folds are called as villi. These folds increase surface area for absorption. Inside each villi is present large number of blood vessels, and another tubular structure you can find here. This is called as lacteal, whereas these blood vessels form blood capillaries. Through blood vessels, water-soluble substances enter, and then they will be carried to all the parts of the body, and through lacteal, fatty substances will be moving. You know, fat is not soluble in water, so they cannot pass inside blood capillaries. Okay. So now what happens? So absorption is completed. Now again, let's come back to when absorption is absorption of essential substances as well as water, minerals, electrolytes, other electrolytes, almost they are completed. And then food. Now in food, mostly what you find that waste materials are present. Then it enters inside large intestine. The junction of small intestine and large intestine is called as cecum. Cecum leads
Ma'am,
into a
we
colon.
don't have much time left, so can you wrap up the session right here?
Okay, just here food will be removed, and the removed part is now the process is called as egestion, and removed material is called as fecal matter. Large intestine absorbs large amount of water and some vitamins only. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, ma'am, can you want to give a message to our viewers?
So as it is, a time when we are sitting home and have got large, lots of time. So I'll give you two, just you can say home assignments. One is just make a digestive system with the help of whatever available in your house, and also write down why in alimentary canal this type of differential diameter is present, how they are helping in functioning, that you write, label it and write. And secondly, that make a food what type of food you want to eat, and what is whether it is balanced or not, that you can do. Just here one thing I'll show you.
Ma'am, we don't have time actually.
Yes, just only this, so that you'll get idea. This is my plate, you get idea from internet. So this way you can get idea from this, and you can make your own food plate, so that it will be a balanced diet, which is very much necessary at this rate. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This activity is really interesting. And if you want to send us the answers, you can send it on our email ID ciet.kishormunch@gmail.com. Don't go anywhere, because we are going to come back in a few minutes from now, and the topic is going to be um, Haruf e Tahaji.